All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. No? Thank you, everyone, for coming, and welcome back to Naked Hub. For those of you who haven't been here before, welcome. Now, my name is Gad Nunez. I'm the event manager here. I'd like to thank you all for coming tonight, especially Richard for coming back. Sorry, Dr. Richard Clayton. Sounds fancy when I say it, doesn't it? Yeah, thank you so much for coming back to the second series. The first one was a huge success. Now, before we get started, I'd like to tell you a little bit about Naked Hub and what we do here, and then we can move on with the show. So let's start from the beginning. Naked Hub was founded in 2015 in Shanghai, with over 7 hubs now in 2018. What are we? 2018, 2017? We have over 7 hubs in Shanghai, 3 in Beijing, and 40 over 40? What was the number? 41 in Southeast Asia. Now, Naked Hub, first and foremost, is a premium co-working space. We provide beautifully designed offices and workspaces for companies of all shapes and sizes, from whether it be one-man freelancers to Fortune 500 companies and everything in between. We are a platform that are solely based on sharing. As you can see, this is what we call the living room. This is an area where a lot of our hubbers come to work together. We set up a lot of meetings, and we share a lot of other facilities as well. Upstairs, you'll find that we have 3 beautiful meeting rooms. We've got common rooms. We've got this, and obviously, you know, the bar. It's enjoyed by everyone here. So, I mean, the concept here is that everyone shares, and that's the best thing about Naked Hub. Well, I mean, you'll find that in a lot of co-working, but our strongest point here is that we have a very, very dedicated team of community members. So we've got Steph here, who's our community head, the queen of the hub. I'm Gad, I'm the community coordinator, or event. No drama, that's right. So, I mean, I'll be around throughout the evening. If you have any questions, please let me know if I haven't filled in any of the details that you're looking for. I mean, again, I'll be around this evening. Let me know. Please, Richard, take it away.
Thank you. So the first thing I'd like everyone to do is come and gather around and make yourselves comfortable on the seats, because we do have pieces of paper and things that need to be used.
Where's your PowerPoint?
I don't have a PowerPoint. So, surprisingly enough, the only one of the 3 of us that works for a corporate is the one that turned up with a PowerPoint presentation.
It's only 53 slides. 53, that's not bad.
Yeah, so we're sorry that the last 3 hours of the presentation are his 53 slides. So I'll tell you a little bit about how this works. There are reasons that we have 5 chairs up here and only 3 of us. At any stage, if any one of you wants to come up and reflect on what you've heard, tell a story about what you've heard, criticise what you've heard, tell Jordan to stop with his PowerPoints, you can come up on stage. We do have a few strategically placed volunteers in the audience who are happy to come up here and speak. But every time we do an exercise, there's an opportunity to come up on stage and sort of tell us what you think. So you're part of the presentation as well as the audience, which is part of the overall concept we're looking at. Secondly,
Microphone.
Still not happening.
I don't think this is much better. Is that?
Yeah. Is that better? Yeah. Okay, so the other thing is you'll get the chance to meet lots and lots of different people. This is a sort of an event that LinkedIn sort of supports, and you'll get part of it is to meet people, to have a serious contact with different people. So we will be moving you around various different stages, so you get the chance to talk to people that you haven't talked to yet. I'll just let my co-presenters, as Gad's already nicely introduced me, but totally ignored the other people on stage. I'll let my other co-presenters to help themselves.
Hi everyone, I'm Kay Ross. I wear many hats, all under the big umbrella of storytelling. I'm a marketing consultant, copywriter, editor. I'm an actor and improviser, which is the main reason I'm here tonight. And I'm also interested in personal development and healing and body work and that kind of thing. So all about storytelling, that's what I do.
In spirit of the LinkedIn meetup that we're doing tonight, I like to refer to myself as a workplace futurist and change experience leader. I advise large multinationals on their real estate strategies, most specifically usually configuration of space and how to get people to that. So tonight I'm going to tell you how video games have helped me better shape those experiences for my clients, or at least inspire them.
And I research irony, which is weird, I know. I look at organisational irony, the difference between how an organisation thinks it is and how an organisation actually is. But today we're going to be talking about the future of work, and there's three specific things we're going to be talking about. The World Economic Forum suggests the three most important skills for the future of work are creativity, critical thinking, and solving complex problems. So the reason we're here today is we believe that the idea of organisational play combines those three things. And we're going to try and teach you a little bit about what it means to play in an organisation, to open up your critical thinking, to open up your complex problem solving, and to help you with your creativity. So what I'd like all of you to do to start with, very briefly, is just think of a complex problem you're trying to solve somewhere at work or in your life. And just think about, you can share it with people, you can keep it secret, but a complex problem. And please try and write it down somewhere. It's pieces of paper, write it down somewhere, a complex problem that you're trying to solve. You can write it on your phone, you can write it on a piece of paper, a complex problem that you're trying to solve. And that includes employees of LinkedUp who are all hiding in the background.
No, no.
Okay, and then you can just forget about it. Once you've written it down, just forget about it. All you need to do is write it down. The most important thing we're going to do with a piece of paper is to draw. And what I want you to do is take a look at the person sitting closest to you. And what I want you to do is to draw that person. Okay, and you don't have very long to do it. You're going to turn, face the person sitting closest to you, and you're going to draw that person, and you're going to draw that person in 30 seconds. Okay, 30 seconds to draw the person sitting closest to you. Ready? You can choose someone on stage if you want. Ready, steady, go. Okay, stop. That's 30 seconds. Please show the person you just drawn the photo, the picture you just drawn them.
I know. I've got a very symmetrical face. This is actually really good. I'm just that's very exactly the same with myself. You know, like I started.
So when we normally do this, when you do this activity, the standard responses are laughter, a little bit of embarrassment, maybe one or two "I'm sorry" when you show the horrible picture you've drawn of each other. This is a standard adult response to being put in a creative situation. They're still apologising.
Sorry.
It's okay. So a standard adult response to being put in a creative situation. You feel a little bit embarrassed. You don't want to show all your creative art to the other person. You're feeling that they might feel it's a bit stupid. You're a bit embarrassed. You haven't done good credit. So that's just when you do a peer review. But the second thing is to do when you go through creativity. Has anyone heard of Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi? Okay, he's the sort of guru of creativity and the sort of almost the founder of positive psychology. And he argues that there are three ways to judge creativity. The first is the peer review. So does anyone think that somebody has got a really good picture of them? Really good picture? Is there a really good picture in the room? A really good picture. Okay, so we have one really good picture. Now, does anyone here have a fine art degree, a graphic design degree? Anyone? Okay, I have a fine art degree. So I am therefore, to an extent, a judge. I'm an expert. So the peer has said it's good, then you have to show it to the expert, someone who has a fine art degree. So I can look at it, and then I get to judge it as well. Okay, so it's a good picture. I think it's a good picture. And then you should be happy that I show it around the room. Okay. Does everyone think it's a good picture? Please pass it around the room. Is it a good picture? Now she's embarrassed. Now she's worried. Now she's being judged. That's the third stage of what makes somebody creative. Does the public judge it as something that's creative and worthwhile? So she's had a picture judged by her peer, by an expert, and by the public. Is it creative? Very creative, okay. So you've been judged well. You've been judged as being good. Okay, so, but this is the thing that happens when we play as adults. Now the first little complex problem, and again, this is the last thing I'm going to do before I pass over on to Kay. In groups of 4, what I'd like you to do is think of a paperclip. You know what everyone knows what a paperclip is? In groups of 4, I want you to spend 90 seconds writing down how many ways can you use a paperclip. How many ways can you use a paperclip? So discuss together in groups of 4. Okay, stop. How many? Anyone got over 10 uses for a paperclip? Over 10? Over 15? Yeah. Over 20? 15. So 20 is genius level. Has anyone got 20? You're very close to 20. Okay, does anyone write down clip paper together? Does anyone write down clip paper together? Because that would have been an easy one. Okay, that's really good. So, already, if you're over 15, if you're close to that number, that's already way better than the average. The average would be about 7 or 8. So even the drawing exercise has opened you up to be a little more creative and a little more playful. So what we're going to do now is work on Adam Grant's theory of play and originality. That's the idea that interruption in the task makes you more creative. As long as we do creative, playful things when we're interrupting the task. So what I'm going to do is pass over to Kay, who's going to do some improvisation play with you. Before we do that, I'd like you all to get up and change places. Just before I pass over to Kay, does anyone want to come up to the stage and give their feedback about how they felt doing the drawing? How they... I can call him flexible again because I know he'll say something, but I don't know. Does anyone want to give some feedback on how they felt about drawing someone they've hardly ever met before?
Why don't you pick someone?
Gad. How did you feel, Gad? Come say.
You picked me last time. I feel like this is a bit unfair.
And you can pick someone else, so we've got a second. You get a full.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So how did you feel, Gad?
I felt all right. I just drew a friend that I'd met a couple of weeks ago. I can see how you got that. I can see how you got that.
So Gad told me he was a good artist. Would you agree?
I said I was the son of 2 artists. I didn't say I was a good artist.
Only for like specific kind of art.
What kind of artist? I'm
That was
interested.
some kind of Picasso style.
Oh, nice. A compliment in there.
But I can't actually draw, so the picture I drew could have been anyone in the room. So hopefully you won't too offended either.
Alex is a great example. He says he can't draw. So we're looking here at 2 different types of creativity. The natural young talent, Picasso at his best. Okay? Picasso at the age of 20 was producing masterpieces. Very young, conceptual talent. So it's the idea of conceptual creativity. It's the young person who's born to be creative and just go, blur. Alex, not such a good artist. So we're now talking Cézanne. So Cézanne couldn't draw. That was his big problem. One of the greatest artists of all time, but it took him 50 years to produce any good art. For the next 30 years, practicing your drawing, you'll be as good as Gad. So that's experimental creativity, how you become creative over many, many years of practice. So the idea here is over an hour and a half of practice, you will all experiment with creativity and you will all become a little bit better at it. I will pass over to Kay finally. Alex, you can sit back down. Thank you.
Did you know that the name of this building is Bonham Circus? So we have to have fun tonight, yes? Yes. Good, thank you. So life and work can sometimes be random, chaotic, unpredictable, uncontrollable, scary, non-linear, messy, and not much fun. So what kind of qualities might we need in order to deal with all of that and to be more playful and to have more fun? Well, it would help if you were curious about the world and yourself, trusting, I have a little list, courageous, accepting, if you had nimble adaptability to change and the unexpected. The willingness to ask for help is a useful quality. The ability to be in the moment and really pay attention to what's going on in you and around you. The willingness to take risks, make mistakes and fail, and then get up and have the determination and grit to keep going and change course if necessary. Being open to serendipity, trusting that things will work out better than you could possibly have planned and controlled it by yourself. The willingness to lean in to what scares you. A both-and mentality instead of an either-or mentality. And of course a sense of fun helps. And what kind of qualities might be useful to let go of? Ego, control, or your illusion of control. Thinking that you know best what will happen and what should happen. An either-or mentality. Insisting that things must turn out the way you wanted and planned and expected. Your resistance to change and the unexpected. What you thought you were certain of. And taking things really seriously. So what I'd like to suggest to you is one strategy that I've found in my life and my work, and many other people around the world have done as well. One strategy that's really useful for doing all of those things is improvisation. By improvisation, I mean, I'm talking about theatrical improvisation. Who's heard of or seen the show Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about? Yes. It's performing without a script. No preparation, no huddling in the wings about who's going to play the doctor and who's going to play the nurse. Scripting. We practice, like any sport, we practice. There's rules of the game. There's some underlying principles and a mindset that enables improvisers on stage to do what they do. And I perform with a local English language improv troupe here in Hong Kong called People's Liberation Improv. Yes? And so we practice because there are those underlying principles and skills and mindset that enable us to do what we do on stage without a script. Now, what are those principles? You've probably heard the number one principle of improv is called yes and. Who's heard of the yes and phrase? Thank you. Yes and means we accept what's happening in front of us. We accept the offer from the universe, from the other players, from what's going on in the room, in the space. Yes means not necessarily that you like what's happening or that you like or agree with what the other person said or what's happening. It means you accept that it's the truth of what's happening right in front of your nose. You allow space, you give air to what the other person has just said, a suggestion that somebody's made, maybe in a brainstorming meeting. You switch off, at least for a little while, that judging voice in your head that says, it's not good enough, it won't work, the boss won't like it, we haven't got the budget, we tried it last year and it didn't work. All of that, yes, but arguments that we all hear all the time. So yes means accepting the truth of what's happened, or what's going on in front of you in the moment, or in the case of me on stage in an improv scene, accepting that the offer the other person has given me, whether in words or in physicality, or what's going on in the room, accepting the offer. The and part means building on it, adding something to it, so that the other person then has something to bounce off, ping pong back and forth. So yes and is the number one principle of improv, and every improv performer around the world knows that principle. Other principles of improv. Make your partner look good. Make your teammates look good. It's not about ego. It's not about you being the star of the show. It's not about telling jokes and being funny. It's about serving the best interests of the team and the situation in front of you. So make your teammates look good. You will have an experience of that in a little while. Making bold choices. Making bold choices and taking action. Letting go of that judging voice in your head, the self-editing voice in your head that judges what you're saying or what you're thinking or what you're about to do. Thinking, oh, they won't like it, it's not good enough. So letting go of that editing, judging voice in your head. Having fun. Being mindful in the moment and really noticing what's going on around you and in you. Really listening to what the other person is saying before you jump in with your response. So listening is a very important skill in improv. So I'm going to give you some experiences. We're going to play a couple of games and you will be getting up and moving around, and it's probably going to get quite noisy. So I have a ritual, because I don't want to be screaming at you and shouting into the microphone, stop, stop, stop. So here's the ritual. If I want you to stop what you're doing and be quiet, because I'll have the next instruction to give you, I will put my hand up like this. If you see me with my hand up like this, that means I want you to stop what you're doing and be quiet and look at me so that I can give you the next instruction. If you're in the middle of doing something with your partner and you see somebody else or see other people in the room putting their hand up and being quiet, copy them, because they're copying me. Okay, so can we practice that? So, just as a little exercise, a little practice, with your nearest partner, just start having an animated conversation. Looking at your partner, having an animated conversation. Lots of conversations. Magic. It's so quick. That's something that you can use if you're a school teacher. It's a fantastic technique to use if you want people to be quiet, or a trainer of any kind. Okay. So the first game activity that we're going to play, and let me reassure you, this is not about performing on stage. If you don't have any acting or improv experience, it doesn't matter. You're a human being, you've got a pulse, you can play a game. Okay, so the first game is, I'm going to be leading through various quick activities that you're going to do with different partners. You're going to be moving from partner to partner. And you will, together with your partner each time, choose a different partner each time. I will give you the instruction for what to do. So, first exercise is stand up and find a partner that you don't know yet. I'll give you 10 seconds to make that go. Thank you. So, first exercise with your partner, create a top secret handshake that's never been done before, and you will never use with anybody else ever, because it's top secret. Create a secret handshake with your new partner and practice it a few times so you perfect it. Secret handshake. With your new partner, you are going to create a new, never before seen dance move. And you'll both do the same dance move together. That many times. Add up those two numbers, link arms and jump that many times. Go.
1, 2.
invitation is to choose and sing together, just for each other, a short line from a song made famous by a female singer. I'm sure you can think of one. If you can't think of one, ask your partner. I will always love you.
There was a real challenge of upmanship. Everything we tried, the next person had to be that little bit more risque, and that little bit more dangerous, and that little bit more creative as we went all the way through. So there was a real build until we actually were talking about explosives and coming down slides naked, covered in chocolate.
You have that too?
Yes, and?
So thank you to Kay for the wonderful improvisation game.
So, in the world of consultancy, there's a lot of what I like to refer to as manufactured complexity. And I think one of the prevailing themes you've seen throughout this is, what do you have to lose? So, as we get fired up here, I realized we were talking about games. Obviously video games are a big part of our lives. There was a time when this game that we're about to go through came out where video games almost had a bad rep, right? They were about a lack of focus. But what we're starting to find out, and maybe this is because video games originated from Japan, but they don't just have a focus. They have a very precise focus. So I want to talk about how, I mentioned before, I like to refer to myself as a change experience leader as opposed to a change manager. There's a couple reasons for that. I genuinely believe the best change comes from an actual experience. So very quickly, how many people are logged into the Wi-Fi right now at Naked Hub? How many people? Raise your hand. So even now, you can pick up, and I've actually brought my Nintendo for anyone who wants to play afterwards. You can pick it up, you don't need to read instructions to understand how to play, and there's a number of mechanisms that go into that. But what I want you to do is, in groups of about 5 or 6, spend about 2 minutes deciding amongst yourself, the scenario is your friend is visiting Hong Kong for the very first time. What do you feel you need to prepare them the most for? So as a group, just bounce around. You're just going to make a list of things. It's a paperclip list. How many different things? What are the things you need to prepare people for the most as they're coming to Hong Kong? So while we're getting queued up here, go ahead and get started with that. So just talk amongst yourselves. So what I want you to do is I want you to think about all the steps that go in between getting from the arrival hall, right? Because once we get out into the arrival hall of the airport, we can't go back, right? We can't just go backwards, just like Mario can't go back at the beginning of that screen. We can only go one direction. So what I want you to do is, as a group, for the next 2 or 3 minutes, try to think of, and the order right now does not matter. You will reprioritize this afterwards. Try to think of all the steps as a user that are needed as that person to get from the Hong Kong International Airport arrival hall to meeting you at IFC. We've all been through that, so you should be able to talk amongst yourselves. But take the next few minutes to just list out the steps to get from the arrival hall to IFC by way of the Airport Express. Alright, so talk amongst your groups. The first thing is there's a single goal in the game. The next one is the well-designed learning curve. So we'll talk about that in just a moment when we go through what you've done. And that works in conjunction with short iteration cycles. So, what did you guys have as, what do you think your first step is in leaving the arrival hall?
Get some
Get what?
Get some lunch by
To get a ticket. Okay, and? Okay, and? Okay, so, I'm going to give it to this group. You do not need Hong Kong dollars, and you do not need a ticket to get onto the Airport Express, right? You need neither of those things. You walk straight to the Airport Express. So what obstacles are between the user and the Airport Express? the doors waiting for it to open. It's a very well-designed thing. Doesn't matter what language you speak or anything else like that, you know Train to City. And it's actually in icon, Train to City. So, what's the next step? We'll start over here. What do you guys think the next step is?
If you got on the train without a ticket, you're in trouble when you get to Hong Kong Station.
Yeah. Sure, but can you get to Hong Kong Station? Yeah, of course you can. So there's still no obstacle, right? That's where this is important. There's still no obstacle between us, so it's a short iteration cycle. Now you're at Hong Kong Airport. Absolute worst case scenario. What do? Where do you go from there? Just haul up, grab a bench, lay down. Yeah. No, you go to the service desk. That's when you need the next step. That's when you need the ticket, is in order to exit that station. So your first obstacle is at the end of that journey. And that's the real key here, is to create a well-designed learning curve, but short iteration cycles. No one logically is going to get all the way to Hong Kong Station and decide, you know what? I think I forgot to get a ticket. Let me hop on, get back to the airport, and go all the way back. So what does this have to do with the future of work? Well, the future of work is guiding people the same way that our phones guide us, the same way that every other great experience guides us. It's demonstrable and it's tactile, right? So we logically cannot go back too far. That question again, question of improv, what do we have to lose? Nobody's going to get all the way to the Hong Kong station, get back on the airport express, go back to the airport, get back to the arrival hall, and get back on a plane. Unless there's a very extenuating circumstance. But what's been designed well is the same idea. A single goal, keeping everyone going in the same direction. So the last part is looking back to what Kay said and what Richard said, and what I'm trying to bring full circle here is we can find influence and we can find ways to do things in even the corporate setting that are inspired from very unlikely sources. So in this case, I think a great inspiration, I've actually used this in my day-to-day work. I'd love to talk to you about it afterwards, but I don't want to bore everyone with it, and I want to make sure everyone gets a chance to get home. But you can find influence in different experiences that you go through, including things that seem as trivial as a video game from 1985. So, that's all I've got. I invite anyone up to come share, just as we've gone through. Otherwise, back to Richard.
Thank you, Jordan. So, in terms of finishing off the evening, I'd like you to go back and we're going to do one specific thing to start with. The group, the people you were with when you were doing the paperclip challenge. The people you were with when you were doing the paperclip challenge. Can you go and find them? Can you go and sit with them? Yeah. So according to the creativity test, it's called the Purdue paperclip test, or Purdue creativity test. Over 20 is a genius level of creativity.
We have paper
Now,
clips.
50, so that's a hugely genius level. So why can't we get 50 to start with? Why can't we get 100? Because we're trained, and the whole intellectual purpose of what we've been doing today is to look at how we get restricted to a very narrow perspective on how to think. So we talked originally about solving complex problems, creativity, and critical thinking. I asked you to think of a complex problem at the beginning. The theory of creativity and originality that Adam Grant, the Wharton professor of psychology, talks about is that when you are distracted by play, you can solve your complex problems better. So when you go back and you look at your complex problem, you should find that your mind has been opened and you might come across solutions that you hadn't previously considered. That is a distraction that play does. Critical thinking, if you've learned something about yourself, you've learned how you restrict yourself, how you stop yourself from taking risks, how you become afraid of being judged by others. So you've learned a little bit about your own self. It's a Socratic way of understanding yourself. We've also looked at what are infinite and finite games. So an infinite game is when there are winners and losers and rules. So you follow the rules, you try and win, You often just watch it. If you're a sports fan, you're watching a finite game. Infinite game is when there are no rules, there are boundaries can be pushed, and the only object of the game is to keep on playing. So you can keep on with the paper-driven exercise and play and play and play and play and play and play until you have 1,000 uses for a paper-driven. The only object, and this is what Kay was looking at very specifically, is to be in this team where you're supporting each other, you're creating together, and you're moving further and further forward. There are some restrictions on when play happens. So again, we go back to Chickman to Haley and the idea of flow. Play is not fun when it's too simple. This is why we don't play with children all the time, because their games are too simple for us. So we get bored. Play is not fun when the rules are too complex for us. We don't understand what we're supposed to do, so we get bored. Play is fun when we're stuck in the flow in the middle. We forget that we're working, we forget that we're playing. Again, Kay's improvisation exercises. You stop looking at each other else, you just did it. When you play Super Mario Brothers, you can get involved in the play. It's not too simple, you don't enjoy it, but it's not so complex that you get frustrated and you can't reach your final goals. In work, we forget the value of this. We forget that by getting into that middle space and continuously playing as part of a team, that we can solve more and more complex problems. That we can open our minds and learn more about ourselves and learn more about how to do our jobs well. So what I'm going to do is leave you with is to go back onto that complex problem, spend a couple of minutes thinking about it. Has your awareness of that complex problem, how to solve it, potentially opened? Has it helped you come to some suggestions you might not have considered before? So that's all I have. Thank you very much for coming. I hope to see you next time.